Hello again, and welcome to the next LinkedIn Live. Today we're going to be talking about pharma in the Middle East and Africa. But before we do that, we're going to just hold on for a couple of minutes for people to join. As usual, while we're waiting for the first 2 minutes, I'm going to tell you a bit about me. And I know every time I say something different. Well, I have been in the pharmaceutical industry now for 40 years, literally 40 years. As at the 14th of July, 2026, 40 years in the industry. It's quite an achievement, I suppose. I was going to say phenomenal. It's quite an achievement. 40 years in the same industry. Makes you think, doesn't it? So I started in microbiology. Then I went on to QC supervisor, then QA manager, all focused on manufacturing. I started with manufacturing of medicinal products, medical devices, casting products, and toiletries. Over time, I then focused on the pharmaceuticals and the medical devices when I was a supervisor. And then as QA manager, I focused on medicinal products. But then over time, continued, started auditing, moved into the area of subcontract manufacture, auditing the manufacturers, putting the agreements in place, technical agreements, the specifications, doing the audits, of course, including for-cause audits, dealing with complaints, and everything that goes with subcontract manufacture. Then on to, I think next was liquids. Liquids and creams, non-sterile. That was a short one. Then quality systems manager. And then after a couple of years on to, actually during the quality systems manager, I was doing my QP training. I became a QP, qualified person, named on a license in 2004. And I've been on licenses ever since. I started my own consultancy 2011. And since I started the consultancy, I've usually been working for multiple companies at once. So at the moment, I'm on multiple licenses. Although, honestly, only one of them really puts a demand on the time that I have. The others are more supporting them with their quality system, supporting them with decisions, supporting with issues that they have, because they don't just have the license that I'm on, they have other routes to market as well. So I advise on how to deal with microbiology, how to approach deviations, how to address senior management, how to get influence, how to present yourself in a suitable way that people actually pay attention, how to negotiate. I also do a lot of training. I deliver training in a wide range of GMP topics, GDP, GCP. I would say the core is probably pharmaceutical quality systems, because that's ubiquitous throughout the industry and also applies to medical devices. I'd actually started with quality system back in '86. But anyway, that's enough time, I think, now for everybody to join. So today we're going to be talking about pharma in the Middle East and Africa. So for those of you who don't know the abbreviation, the pharmaceutical industry in the Middle East and Africa is known as MEA, M-E-A. So we're going to talk about opportunities, challenges, and talent needs. So why does MEA matter? What difference does it make? Why would you want to be there? Well, it's one of the fastest growing markets, ranks around as one of the fastest growing pharmaceutical regions. It's a large region, of course. There's government investment in both areas at the moment. I would say Middle East is their own government. Africa, there's not just their own government, there's also the World Health Organization promoting growth. For example, local manufacturing in Uganda. So there's heavy investment in local manufacture and healthcare infrastructure. And I think that's driven a lot by what was learned during the pandemic when they couldn't get access to the treatments that they needed. There is a rising demand. Global companies are expanding in the regions, driving demand for experienced professionals. So if you're interested in a role in a region that's growing and that's building fast, then it's a good one for you to choose. There's opportunities there. And as any of you that have listened to me before will know, I do think it's always worth taking advantage of an opportunity, because that's what I've been doing my whole career. So what's the landscape look like? What's the pharmaceutical landscape across MEA? Well, it's diverse in maturity. Because it's a region spanning various levels of market development, such as South Africa, which is advanced in its authority and the regulations it's got in place, but Nairobi is quite behind. Tasmania would be intermediate. Nigeria is progressing well. Dubai is advancing quickly, and they're even attracting large conferences like CPHI. Local manufacturing is it's not as common as you might expect. So there is a lot of growth in domestic production and biotechnology throughout the regions. They're looking for improving resilience in supply. They need a greater focus on medicine security and government industry collaboration. It's being promoted to a level that actually is attracting investment from the private manufacturers as well. So as the government and industry collaborate, there's always an opportunity. So companies are actually taking advantage of that opportunity. But to be able to do that, they need people. You can see on the screen, you've got 4 people running these different interfaces. But you need to actually attract those people at a level that they can understand what they're doing. So you also get an opportunity for training. You get an opportunity for consulting to help develop the sites, as we will talk about shortly. So collaboration in the region is high. They're definitely growth markets. So we have Saudi Arabia with their vision for 2030, transforming pharmaceutical manufacturing. Well, that's their vision, but I see them doing it already. They're already working on the improvements. I've already been asked to support Saudi FDA. They're already getting there. And I've already delivered training for them here in London through my collaboration with University College London, where, as you may know, I'm a lecturer. United Arab Emirates is an emerging regional hub for innovation and life sciences. I say emerging because they're growing. They're intentionally pushing the industry, the sector. They're also pushing AI, so I think the two will grow together. Egypt is already large and rapidly expanding pharmaceutical sector. They, I think, struggle a bit sometimes with their money, but it does mean that there's opportunities there for people that have money to invest and get collaboration. South Africa has already got a strong market. It's a major African market with emerging opportunities in Kenya, Morocco, Uganda, Nigeria, and likely some of the others as well. But I do think that Africa itself as a continent does have a long way to go, and there will be significant opportunities over there as they progress. But what about regulation? So what's happening? They're strengthening the authorities. They're adopting GMP and ICH. They're working to start on digitizing submissions and to raise compliance across the whole region. Companies need to navigate global frameworks such as WHO, World Health Organization, ICH, International Conference on Harmonization, and PICS, which I can't remember the... Sorry. If somebody can just type in what PIC stands for. Just go to one of the websites because I've forgotten what it stands for, and then everybody else will know. Thank you. And evolving local requirements as inspection programs. I think that's what it is. Inspection criteria. No, can't remember. Inspection programs intensify across MEA, Middle East and Africa. So what are the opportunities? Well, quality and GMP. You might want to look at QA, compliance, auditing. Auditing is an interesting one because it gets you to go and look at different things that you don't normally deal with. I've been an auditor now since, I think I started in 97 and then got my formal training in 98. The initial ones were more supported and co-auditing, whereas when I got my lead assessor training in 98, that was the time when I started doing it all myself. And I found it really interesting. Honestly, I've found that auditing has broadened my horizon significantly. So if you do get the opportunity, do take it on. Regulatory affairs, submissions, approvals, lifecycle management. There's other areas as well. So you can think about the global regulations. You can think about what's coming next. Horizon. There's always something in reg affairs, something new. And if you want to look back at my, now then, I can't remember where. No, I can't. Sorry, I can't remember whether it was how many weeks ago it was. I did another one about opportunities in regulatory affairs, another LinkedIn Live. So you may want to look on LinkedIn, or you might find it easier to look at YouTube. I find YouTube is more sequential, so sometimes it's easier to find. Maybe I'll start restructuring YouTube so that it is easier by topic. You'll get the link to my channel at the end of the presentation today. Technical operations. So you've got validation, commissioning, manufacturing. People give it different names. It depends what company you're in. So if you think of the topic rather than the technical operations on that particular one, it depends on the company. Commercial and access. So we have supply chain, market access, and medical affairs. I would be inclined to go first for some supply chain on that one, and then look at market access. Medical affairs is an interesting one because it crosses over between three other areas. It groups in with quality and regulatory as well, and sometimes the validation side. So medical affairs could be an interesting one if you like a diverse amount of content. I don't like getting bored. I like to do variety. What are the skills most in demand? Well, these are some examples. I wouldn't say it's everything. GMP, quality management systems, is always going to be in demand where there's growth. Always. Because employers across MEA are seeking professionals who combine deep technical knowledge with the interpersonal skills to operate across diverse regulatory and cultural environments. It means it's not just the direct skill that you need. You have regulatory compliance expertise, tech transfer, and site startup. Now, site startup is really important. You need to go from nothing to something. So that side of things is going to be significant. And as part of site startup, you need the technologies transfer. I'm doing one at the moment in the UK. Botanical, herbal product. Cross-cultural communication is key. You need to understand that people don't always respond the same way. And they may say yes, but they may not actually mean it. I found that out when I was working with Japan. The cultural side of communication is just as important as the content that you present. Leadership and project management. Well, when everything changes, when you're moving forward, you're going to have a project. For a project to work well, you need a leader. I remember one back in 93, I think I was leading. Was it 93? No, it must have been more recent. 97 maybe. It's not much more recent, is it? We had a line of Cadexma iodine products, And we're looking at a line extension. We're looking at additional product to place on the market. Because we'd seen a gap. And the marketing guys brought it to the team, assembled the team. I was leading the team because I was I was the liaison with the manufacturer as the person responsible for subcontract manufacture. So I was leading the team. There's about, 20, 25 of us. And something wasn't due yet. And one of the team members says, "Oh, we don't need to do that yet because it's not due till this date." I said, "Well, what would the opportunity be if we actually brought it forward and did it earlier, because we've got time now?" So marketing went away and they came back and they said about 150,000. We could sell more. And the result was an extra 150,000 that was unbudgeted. So straight to the profit. So it's always worth thinking about what opportunities there are. And then we've got validation and qualification. Any new site's going to need validation for the equipment, for the processes, and qualification for the equipment. So you need a technical core, GMP validation, regulatory compliance, and a leadership edge in project management and stakeholder engagement, which will move things forward. And you're always, if you've got that skill set, then there's always going to be an opportunity for you in any area that's developing. As I found when I was first in the industry, opportunity comes from change. I joined Smith & Nephew when they were building a new, it wasn't a new site, it was a new building. They'd moved the warehouse out from the main building to a custom-built warehouse. And then they built on top of the original warehouse, which they converted to goods in only, a new laboratory. And I was involved in moving across everything from the manufacturing area, so they had more space there, into the laboratory across the road. And it was interesting. A change is interesting always. Challenges facing the region include talent shortages. They struggle to fill specialist pharmaceutical roles across the region. There are pockets where they're strong, but most of the time you'll find that there's a lot of opportunity. Regulatory variation is probably the biggest challenge, because the requirements differ so much between the countries. It adds to the complexity of the regulatory role, but does mean that the skill set is really highly in demand. Manufacturing capability is developing. Local capacity isn't really up to the level that they need at the moment, so they need to maintain compliance though. So that's difficult when you've got your variation in your regulations. Supply chain resilience. To look at balancing rapid growth with product availability and continuity. When you do that, it's always going to be, it's always going to highlight the areas of concern where you don't have resilience in your supply chain. And you'll go out of stocks and you'll find out where you've got something to fix. So people that are in the supply chain are going to have a demanding role to fill. But what are employers looking for then? Well, GMP and inspection readiness, strong technical knowledge and audit experience. International regulatory experience is important. You don't just need to know the local market, you want to know the global market as well. In the region, the global market will show you what's coming next. And of course, cultural adaptability. You need to be able to mentor local teams and drive continuous improvement, but actually have the influence within the different cultures so that you can do that. It's quite difficult in this day. Preparing for a career in MIA, well, you want to build some GMP foundations, master your quality systems, international regulatory frameworks, get some experience. You'll find it really hard to learn on the job in this type of environment because they don't have the skills for the people that can teach you or mentor you in most cases. Develop leadership skills, gain cross-functional experience and communication capability. You'll find it makes it easier I wouldn't rush to take the job in MEA. What I would do is actually develop your skills first, get 3 to 5 years beforehand, and be a leader when you go there, because you'll get more opportunities when you arrive. What is important to do now is to build your network in Middle East and Africa, so you can stay informed on regional strategies and connect with the pharmaceutical community. It is a region full of opportunity. Middle East and Africa are shaping the future of global pharmaceuticals. Investment is accelerating. Demand for talent is growing. And the window of opportunity is there. The next chapter of pharmaceutical growth won't be written in one country. It'll be written by professionals willing to embrace global opportunities. So thank you for listening. I hope you found it useful. If you'd like to ask a question, if you want to know more, or if you want to know what we offer at the Academy of Pharmaceutical Excellence, you can see on the screen the website, www.academypharmaceuticalexcellence.com. Send me a message if it's something you'd like to know, if you'd like some support with something, info@academypharmaceuticalexcellence.com, or on LinkedIn. You can see the link there. It's linkedin.com/in/Paul R. Palmer. But I would appreciate if you connect there anyway, and then we can interact and learn more about each other. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I have a YouTube channel. So youtube.com, and you just put the little @ Paul R. Palmer. In general, when I'm present in the different places, I use my middle initial because it makes me easier to find. So wherever you want to look, if you just search for Paul R. Palmer, and that's what one of my company names. So I do have a few companies, Paul R. Palmer Limited. I have another one, Paul Palmer in Dubai, and I have another one, Pharma Quality Services. So you may find that the details that you receive come from a different company than the one you're expecting, because Academy of Pharmaceutical Excellence is a brand name that I'm promoting, but it's still a brand name rather than a company name. So in some countries, you'll find that I have to use the official company name, or you might find that at the bottom of your emails when you receive them. I do hope you've found this useful, talking about Middle East and Africa. And I'm going to go away now and answer any comments that you've got. Please do leave any messages as we go through these lives on the comments, because I can't really manage them live. I have to do them afterwards. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.